we are certifying the devices to ensure that there is that consistency so that when the directors essentially master their film for IMAX theatrically, that they can bring that same experience to the home.
John, good to see you.
Good to see you.
This is a beautiful booth, by the way.
Thank you very much. We're very, very proud of it.
It's definitely one of the most immersive booths, but now it's time to talk about you. This is John McDaniel, the VP of Business Development of Ecosystems at Xperi, and IMAX Enhanced is one of those ecosystems. Can you talk about, first of all, what is a definition of ecosystem and why does IMAX Enhanced fall into that?
IMAX Enhanced is not a format, and that can be misunderstood. They're competing technologies in the industry, and they're just that, they're technologies. IMAX Enhanced is an ecosystem of content and devices that enable this premium IMAX experience in the home. And so with that, we partnered with our studio and content partners to essentially create the IMAX Enhanced content and then deliver that content, and then also partnered with device manufacturers to manufacture devices that meet the high bar and performance standards that we set within the IMAX Enhanced program, and then also integrate the underlying technology, because there is some technology from DTS and IMAX that is incorporated both on the devices and the content to enable that experience.
Basically, you just laid out the framework of a very complicated puzzle. So let's take this puzzle apart first. We know IMAX. We've learned about IMAX Enhanced. Now there's Xperi and DTS. How do these puzzle pieces fit in together?
So, very early on in our partnership with IMAX, we worked to define how we would bring that IMAX experience from the theater to the home. And so, as we defined the process to essentially convert the content to bring that experience to the home, we worked very closely with Hollywood experts, colorists, and IMAX themselves to ensure that we can recreate the picture experience as well as the audio experience. So where does DTS come in? Yeah. We are the underlying technologies that enable that experience. So we leverage our DTS-X codec to essentially render the IMAX signature sound for the home, regardless of what speaker configuration the consumer has. So understanding essentially the components of the IMAX speaker configuration theatrically, we then place those speakers in the consumer's living room and render to their living room regardless of their speaker configuration and regardless of how many speakers they have. Similarly, we optimize the experience for that consumer's home, regardless of what audio equipment they have, regardless of what TV they have, and consumers can enjoy IMAX Enhanced content regardless of those devices. If they own IMAX Enhanced devices, then it further optimizes the experience both from a picture and an audio perspective.
So let's see if I'm getting this right, because I want to understand this and I want consumers to understand this at home, is IMAX is the overall experience we're trying to create at home. So IMAX, you're getting that in the theater. How do we bring that into your living room for your home theater experience? And DTS is the technology that is able to bring that experience into the home.
That's correct. A simple way to think of it when we speak to the IMAX Enhanced program, we're talking about optimized playback of unique content on certified premium devices. So let's look at unique content. Most people don't know that when they actually see an IMAX, a film in IMAX theater, it's a unique version of that film.
Right.
It's oftentimes shot with IMAX cameras that exhibits expanded aspect ratio. It's a unique audio mix to be able to essentially create that experience within that IMAX theater, their unique speaker configuration. And then lastly, often digitally remastered to ensure that it maintains that experience on that much larger, brighter, higher contrast image exhibition. So with that, we incorporate those technologies into the IMAX Enhanced program for home to deliver that unique version of the film. We also, when the devices detect that it's an IMAX Enhanced film, They then optimize the experience and go into an IMAX mode, both from an AVR and picture perspective, to optimize the experience. And then of course, lastly, when we talk about the certified premium devices, both the AVRs and the TVs and the projectors have all met that very high bar for performance.
So back in the day, before all of this happened, people could only enjoy IMAX in the theaters. And when they watch that film again at home, it is completely different, because no longer are they seeing the picture quality and the sound that they saw in the theater. Now with IMAX Enhanced, they're able to experience and replicate that experience in the theater.
Exactly, the experience that they had in the theater in the home. And actually that's something that our content partners value from an IMAX perspective, because there is that consistency theatrically. They calibrate their cinemas on a daily basis from an audio and video perspective. And then similarly in the home, we are certifying the devices to ensure that there is that consistency, so that when the directors essentially master their film for IMAX theatrically, that they can bring that same experience to the home with those high bar consumer electronics, as well as the optimization via the IMAX mode.
Now, as we see the evolution of content, there are a lot of studios that are releasing content solely for the home, like for example, Netflix. Some of their films are not released in the theater. With IMAX Enhanced, are creators able to make IMAX films solely for the home now?
They can leverage the process that we've established with our content partners to create IMAX Enhanced content for the home. So it's a matter of essentially working with IMAX and Xperi to enable that content and ensure that it exhibits IMAX DNA. So when we talk about IMAX DNA, some of the key components are the expanded aspect ratio, the fact that the content is shot with IMAX cameras most of the time, and then also that it's essentially digitally remastered from a picture, and then also an audio perspective to ensure that it creates that full dynamic range experience that you have in the cinema in the home.
What is the most exciting part of this partnership for you?
From my perspective, it's really the excitement around what we can do with this program. And there's really so much potential, there's so much demand from consumers to bring that IMAX version of the film to the home. There's been some online petitions to bring the IMAX version of certain films to the home. And so therefore there's a significant demand for the unique content within the IMAX Enhanced program. And then similarly, on the device side, you can enable a more premium experience. So you don't, as we discussed, don't necessarily need to own the devices to benefit from the content. So the IMAX Enhanced content exhibits an expanded aspect ratio, is digitally remastered, has the IMAX signature sound, and you can enjoy that on all devices. And then for the consumers that actually purchase IMAX Enhanced devices, they benefit from the added picture and audio optimization. And then similarly along those lines, the underlying DTS:X codec that enables that IMAX signature sound is backward compatible with DTS HD and DTS Digital Surround. So all of the AVRs that have been in the consumer's home for quite some time still allow them to enjoy that content. And then when they choose to upgrade, they get the added benefit of the IMAX Enhanced experience.
I really hope people are understanding how big of a milestone this is for home entertainment. And I wonder if you were able to hear that, because that was very loud and immersive at the same time. But I do think that if you think back to some of the earlier launches back in the day, Blu-ray, for example, a very simple milestone relative to IMAX Enhanced, because Blu-ray is a product you can buy in a Blu-ray format that you can play on TV. But with IMAX Enhanced, you're able to get the content, whether it's contained within the movie that you're watching in itself or in the devices that you may have.
That's correct. So in terms of delivery, that's a great point. We leverage both UHD Blu-ray as well as 4K HDR streaming. So we partnered with some select digital retailers in the US, Europe, and China, and also now more recently Japan with Staya, to deliver that experience. So in the US, we have Fandango Now and Privilege 4K. In Europe, we have Rakuten TV. And then in China, there is Tencent Video. And then, as I mentioned, in Japan, Staya. So we're now launched in 7 countries worldwide via these digital retailers, with more to follow. 17 device manufacturers and counting. So it is an experience that you can enjoy both via UHD Blu-ray and 4K HDR streaming worldwide.
Fantastic. So if you get a chance, now's the time to experience it. It is life-changing, possibly. I think so. It depends on what you're watching, but I think it's life-changing. Thank you so much, John. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.